Sports, where we review all the best sports clips from around the world. If this is your first time checking out a video, please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. Without further ado, let's get to it. We're watching a clip of The Herd with Colin Cowherd talking about none other than Russell Wilson with the Denver Broncos, and apparently, as you can see on the screen, Chad Johnson. Birdie told me Russ to Pitt. I don't know enough about Chad Johnson's, insider information here. I don't know how well connected he is or if that means anything. There seems to be debate whether or not this is actually possible or not, because I did a First Things First last week where they were talking about it. And oh my God, the guy he's completely slipping my mind, but he was pretty much just like, I've not heard Russ to Pitt at all. Why are we even like talking about this? And he was like, he practically wanted to give almost like a JJ Redick rant of like, are we just making stuff up here? But he obviously, just went along with it. At least that's the vibes that I got. And so it seems like there's a lot of these conversations between either Russell Wilson to Pittsburgh or Justin Fields to Pittsburgh. And it's interesting because if Russell Wilson goes to Pittsburgh, then where the heck does Justin Fields end up? Like, that's really kind of an interesting conversation for me. So I have some really strong thoughts with regards to this about would Russell Wilson succeed in Pittsburgh and whatnot. So, but I want to see what Colin has to say first, and then we can break it down from there. So let's get into it.
He said this on his pod. A little birdie told him Russell Wilson is going to the Steelers. So first of all, the Steelers have an excellent roster, and they're bad at quarterback. And in the AFC, you got to do better than Kenny Pickett at quarterback. So this is actually a good fit. Now, I said before I went in vacay, I thought Justin Fields at quarterback was a bad fit in Pittsburgh. Why? He's not a refined quarterback. He's not efficient. Russell Wilson is refined. He wins. He's efficient. He's accurate. He is a defined player. We know what he is. He's not in his prime, but he's not that far past it. The Steelers, frankly, on offense could use his commitment, could use his maturity, could use his experience, and could use his accuracy. Now, as an offensive coach, Sean Payton, I can get Russell kind of frustrating you. But with a defensive coach, Mike Tomlin, Russell doesn't turn the ball over that much. He can play within a system and do some ad-libbing also. When Russell went to Denver, he was viewed as a savior. That's not what he is here. Pittsburgh's winning with Kenny Pickett. They don't need a savior. But because of how many players they traded to get Russell and because of his contract, he was this sort of messiah, this savior, and he was a culture builder. Like, they built the whole culture around him. That's not what he was in Seattle, and he got to 2 Super Bowls, and that's not what he would be in Pittsburgh. He's not going to be a savior. They have the longest tenured coach in the NFL with Mike Tomlin. And one of the things, and I've been critical of Tomlin at times, one of the things I think he does pretty well, he builds a culture. He's an alpha. He's like Mike Vrabel. There's a toughness to the Steelers. But what they aren't offensively is like dependable and efficient and consistently accurate. And they don't get the ball to their stars. I never worry about that with Russell Wilson. Again, with Sean Payton, everything in this world's about fit. I was just talking to somebody about this yesterday outside of sports, about in life. It's just about where you're happy, what generates interest, where are you motivated, who is your boss. Fit outside of a couple of guys like Mahomes or a Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, who would probably work anywhere. Go look at Tua. He got the right coach. From Flores, he was a bust, to Mike McDaniel, he's getting MVP chatter and Pro Bowl votes. I don't think Russell and Sean Payton was ever built to be great. Their personalities don't work. One guy is harsh and intense.
Okay, he was singing the praises last season of Sean Payton and Russell Wilson, okay? Singing the praises. Not only saying, I told you Russ is great and Sean Payton is going to make everything great. And then when things were rocky, he goes, guys, it takes time. And then when things started looking up, he goes, I told you, it just takes time. And then when they started failing, he goes, Russ is not the guy. Sean Payton knows. So this idea is just kind of absurd. I have a lot more to say. I just needed to interject from there because it was like, are you serious? Like, what? Don't act like it was never going to work when you were singing the praises about how amazing this is. And here we go. Russell Wilson is great and Sean Payton's great. And they're just going to be great together.
Hence, Sean, one guy's optimistic. Almost to a point of nausea at times. Overly optimistic. Let's ride. That can wear people out, some teammates out. Be that as it may, Pittsburgh's got talent. They are loaded on both sides, but what they don't have is dependability, maturity, experience, efficiency, accuracy. That is exactly what Russell Wilson provides. Arthur Smith is the new offensive coordinator. He's not going to ask Russell to throw it 45 times. That's not what he's going to do. He had Ryan Tannehill when he was at OC in Tennessee. They were a run team first, play action pass with a quarterback in Tannehill that could move and was experienced. So this one feels like it works. You can't listen. If you're going to go up against Mahomes and Josh Allen and Lamar and Burrow, stop convincing yourself Kenny Pickett's the guy. You got to have a playmaker back there. So I like it. So I think the Steelers were.
So, okay, let's unpack this. There's a couple ways. There's a couple things that I really want to point out. So, okay. You can make the argument that Sean Payton, if he's not good enough for Sean Payton, who is a great offensive coach, but no matter what you think of him, you can't deny that he's a great offensive coach, and he's made a lot of quarterbacks work and, sketchy, questionable quarterbacks, right? Whether it's Hill or whether it's, oh my God, the guy from Tampa Bay. I can never remember anyone's name, but you guys know who I'm talking about. He'll come to me. The guy who was accused of doing bad things in college, but whatever. He was able to get by and make things happen. Now, obviously, he had great success with Drew Brees. We know that he wins and that he's successful and that he makes things happen, right? I think we can all agree upon that. And so if he's saying I can't make Russell Wilson work, that's more than just a personality difference, okay? I mean, it just is. It's not just like, I just don't. Like Sean Payton wants to win. And if he sees that he is enough, even though his personality drives me crazy, like not to mention, unless Russ is saying, I want out of here, I don't like this coach, which I don't think he's really in a position to be able to say that. Like the personality is kind of okay. It's actually okay because Sean Payton is the one who's just yelling at him, like as we saw on the sideline, and Russ just kind of like takes it, and in a lot of ways, people who are screaming and yelling just want someone who's just going to sit there and take it. And that's what Russ was doing. It's more complicated when the quarterback, starts yelling back. Like when we saw Murray and Cliff Kingsbury, and Cliff Kingsbury wasn't even yelling. You saw Murray screaming at Cliff, and Cliff was just like, what the heck, bro? So like that's when you see things, to me, from my viewpoint, really kind of fumbling. But with regards to it not working out with a great offensive coach, at the same time, when you're a great offensive coach or an offensive coordinator, you're just the one who's pulling the strings behind the offense. A lot of times what makes you special is the uniqueness and the things that you ask upon, your play calling, your play design, the way you are designing, the DNA of your offense. And if Russ is just incapable of executing that, and Sean Payton, I keep wanting to say Peyton Manning, Sean Payton is unwilling to work with that because he goes, I know how we can win. I know how we can put up points. I know the things that we need to do, but you're not able to do that. Kind of similar to an Andy Reid with Alex Smith. And he's like, we need Mahomes. We need someone who can actually do my vision. I have a vision of what will make this offense brilliant, and I need someone better. So they moved on from Smith and went out to Mahomes. And that doesn't mean that Alex Smith is just garbage and you can't win with him. I think there is a world where Alex Smith could be a Super Bowl winning quarterback. And I use this example in the comment section with O'Shea recently, although I think it was with a different quarterback. I think it was with Kirk Cousins, actually. Put like an Alex Smith or Kirk Cousins for that. Put that on a Patriots team with when Tom Brady was there. At least one of those years, those quarterbacks is winning a Super Bowl. At least one of those years. I'm not saying they're going to be as good as Tom Brady. I'm not saying that he's going to rip off 4, 5, 6, 7 wins here, Super Bowl wins. But like, they're good enough where if you have the team around them, they can win, right? I truly believe that. Truly believe that. So of course I believe that I don't think that Russell Wilson's just done. And so that leads me to where now if he's with the Steelers, when you're not behind this offensive geniuses, these guys who are like, I am the guy, I can do all this, they're more like, okay, let's figure out how we can work with this. How can we maximize, say, a Russ or a Kenny Pickett for that matter, really. But the problem with that is that Colin's saying that they're not looking for a savior. And I say, he's crazy. Of course they are. I know Pittsburgh very well. This city wants to win. This city is very similar to the New Yorks and the Phillies and the Dallases for that matter within football, that like they want to win. Let's go. What are you talking about? Like, they want to win. They have a lot of pride. The fans are intense and passionate. Football becomes the entire city, right? I literally lived in Pittsburgh, in the city, and Sunday comes around and it's, just as intense as when it's, when the Eagles are playing in Philly. Like, it is, let's go, let's go. So this idea, and a lot of people feel within at least the Steelers and, within Pittsburgh, that they are a quarterback away. Like Colin said, they're a quarterback away. I mean, he literally said they're a quarterback away. So then how would Russ not be the savior to then get them over the hump? Unless he's saying, you need a savior to like pull this team out from dying. But like, to me, if you're this team where you can make the playoffs and you're just a quarterback away, right? Tom Brady was the savior to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he got them a Super Bowl. Russ is not that. And you could make the argument that he could be like that if you had a better, maybe OC, which again, maybe Arthur Smith is really good. Maybe he's better than other people give him credit for. I don't really know. I don't have strong feelings, honestly. I really, really don't. So I'm not going to just make up opinions just for the sake of me having an opinion. I'm curious to see what he does in this situation. But I think Russ was really the tale of two quarterbacks last season. He did some things that you were like, wow, that's awesome. And then he did some other things that, unless you really look at the tape, and you don't always get to see this in the games, but if you really zoom out and you could see some of the mistakes, some of the reads, some of the things that he was doing that you're just like, this is not what a quarterback of your caliber is supposed to be doing. And that is why there's, Sean Payton was getting so mad at him at times, to be like, what are you doing? Like, we're laying this out for you to succeed and you're not. So he thinks that they're going to win. And he's talking about all these great quarterbacks. How are you expecting to win then if your quarterback is not good enough? Because again, the Steelers are not just happy to like make it to the playoffs, get to the AFC Championship. Like, they have a pretty legit roster. Tomlin is obviously supposed to be this elite coach, whether you agree with that or not. Like, it's, he's obviously highly respected. And, it's like they want to compete. They want to win. So I'm just not so sure that then Russ puts you in that position. Because if Brock Purdy, and this is now I'm speaking for like to Colin right now, if Brock Purdy wasn't good enough to lead the 49ers to a Super Bowl and be the difference maker in the Super Bowl, which is what Colin pointed out, and they have a significantly better roster than I would say, than the and a better coach, especially at least offensive-minded coach, than the Steelers. Why is Russ going to make that measurable of a difference? Why is Russ good enough to now beat the Kansas City Chiefs, the Baltimore Ravens, any of these other teams? It doesn't make sense to me. If anything, if you're the Steelers, try to make some crazy play. And again, I know this is like a made up scenario, but like you need maybe someone of like a Kirk Cousins. And again, Kirk Cousins is really hard because he tore his Achilles. And I am not going to make up any idea of how he's going to be. He might make a full recovery and be like, oh, wow, that's great. Science is crazy. Or he just was never the same. No idea. But what the Steelers need to do is they needed to make the play for Aaron Rodgers a couple seasons ago, right? Minus obviously the injury. They needed to make a play like even for like a Dak Prescott or Kirk Cousins, which I already said. Right? Like, that's what they would need to do. Because you're right. If you bring now Justin Fields to the series, if you have to pick between Fields and Russell Wilson, to me, that is a brutally difficult decision. You take Russ, you're going to be competitive, relatively speaking. Like, I think you'll like be competitive to make the playoffs and maybe could like win a game, but like nothing too crazy, quite honestly. And if you have Fields, it's got the potential maybe to have some like really crazy moments and big highs, not unlike maybe like a Miami Dolphins, right? Like putting up points where you're like, whoa. And then when it gets real, you're like, oh yeah, they're just not good enough. He's just not good enough. And again, I guess that all depends on how much you believe in Arthur Smith. And I don't believe, say, Arthur Smith is going to be in a position to develop Justin Fields. Justin Fields needs to be developed. Needs to be developed. He is not a mature, composed, ready to go quarterback. People point to some of these other teams like a CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud was clearly way more mature and composed and ready to go from the jump. They also have a great OC there who's going to get a head coaching job probably within the next couple of years. These are the difference makers. So I think it's a little bit more complicated than we give credit for. And I think it's also kind of a little bit more cut and dry at the same time, which I know sounds kind of paradoxical. But there was one other point that has completely slipped my mind. Russell Wilson to the Steelers. Oh, the last point that I want to say is this. Because he also pointed out that the Steelers don't have like a leader. They have immaturity. And he said, Russell Wilson's that. He's mature and this or that. Yes, individually he is. He absolutely is that person to himself, to his family, to his team, to his personal team now, not his team, right? Not the Jersey team. Like, yes, he is that person, but he is not that. He was not that to the Denver Broncos. He was not that to the Seattle Seahawks, especially near the end. He was, even when they were winning, he was not that. And he's not that. He's not going to be that for the Steelers. Okay, so that's the other problem. When you're choosing between Fields or Russell Wilson, you're not getting a leader. You are not getting someone who says, I am here, I got the offense. And I don't even mean to be like the brains behind the offense, but like I am the captain of this team. I am ready to go. I do not see that happening with Russell Wilson with the Steelers. I think the same comment that I made before about Bill Belichick is kind of truthful with Russell Wilson. I think Russell Wilson once upon a time did have some clout, did have this swagger, so to speak. And he's lost it all, okay? So a wide receiver does not have the unconditional respect of Russell Wilson. I mean, just look at Rice. He was barking at Patrick Mahomes. But Patrick Mahomes has the ability to be like, I'm freaking Patrick Mahomes. And then you have Andy Reid and Travis Kelce to be like, we are the leaders here. Y'all are going to just settle down here. The Steelers do not have that. Tomlin has that on defense. He does not have that on offense. Arthur Smith is not that. TJ Watt is on defense. And Russell Wilson is not that guy on the offense. That is the benefit of an Aaron Rodgers, even though he's older, even a Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff to a degree. Like I'm trying to not obviously just keep pulling for the amazing Joe Burrows and stuff like that. That's why people kind of call out Jalen Hurts right now, because they're just kind of like, dude, sometimes when things are kind of getting a little chaotic, like, you can't rely on everyone else to do it. You have to do it. When your quarterback is your main leader, your main captain, the main face of the offense, everything else can kind of get together. But when it's not, you run into problems. You run into a Diggs, Josh Allen problem. You run into the problem of, it just becomes kind of like a virus, quite honestly. And again, that is why I actually kind of defended of going out and getting an Aaron Rodgers, because despite what you may think of him being a leader in the locker room or during practices or off season, on the field, everyone knows when Aaron's talking, you shut up, right? That's what you know. When Patrick Mahomes is talking, you shut up. When Josh Allen is talking, you shut up, except for, I guess, maybe if you're Diggs. But when Russell Wilson is talking, at least right now, it's not. There's whispers on the sidelines of, man, as they're holding their collar, man, he's not it. And when they start saying, man, he not it, like they did with Dak in preseason, right? When they say, man, I don't know, is he our weak link? When they start questioning, is our quarterback our weak link? Is our quarterback what's holding us back? That is when a team is just going nowhere. We've seen it again and again and again. And that's part of the reason, and this is my last point, why they've talked Purdy up so much. I think Purdy's a great quarterback. I think Purdy can be an even better quarterback. But it was very much like speaking this to existence. Anytime there was a bad game, they wanted to just cut that, cut the head of the snake and be like, nope, he's great. He's our leader. He's the leader. They kept saying, he's a leader. He's the leader. And he was obviously not the leader, right? Kittle, McCaffrey, Debo, those were obviously the leaders of the offense. And the vocal leaders. And you can lead in different ways. Me and O'Shea talked about this before, about there's all different types of leaders. And it's not to say that Brock Purdy wasn't a leader, but when you're down by 3 and there's 3 minutes to go and everyone's huffing and puffing, and the defense is like, come on, offense, come on, let's go. They're not like, come on, Purdy, bring us home. They're thinking, come on, McCaffrey, bring us home. Come on, Kittle, bring us home. Come on, Shanahan, come on, coach, dial up that play. Let's go. It's different. It's a different energy, different vibe. And that, to me, again, if you're talking about immaturity, then if you don't have that lightning rod to conduct everything together, things can get ugly very quickly. Just look to what happened with Carson Wentz and the Eagles in his last season. It was, nope, not there, not the conductor. And things fell apart very quickly. They went to a Super Bowl, they won, and then within a couple years, they got a new quarterback. But those are my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. I read every single comment. So if you think what I'm saying is the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard, please let me know in the comments below. If you think what I'm saying is the most amazing thing, then definitely please let me know. Either way, let's get into some discussions, let's get into some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. As I said, we are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really, really does help with the visibility and the algorithm, and I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much, and see you next time.